Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So while you guys are filtering in to our Twitter Spaces, just want to let you guys know that this discussion for today, it's going to be very community driven. So if you guys have any feedback, any questions, any offers of insight into the NFT space, that's really what I want to hear today. Because as much as I enjoy my colleagues and I enjoy talking to Tommy about NFT collections and sorts, I really want to hear from NFT collectors, NFT artists. If you're new to the space, welcome. Feel free to raise your hand and join into the discussion. It should be a very robust discussion today because we've got a lot of topics that we want to cover. But we'll wait a little bit longer, a couple more seconds until we get started here.
Any kind of in between music segments that we should be bringing in here too? Go ahead and suggest those. We would love to hear them.
In particular, listen, guys, I know you guys are NFT artists out there, but I know specifically some of you guys are NFT musicians. So if you beatbox, if you play any music or anything at all, feel free to get in touch with us because we would love to have that kind of participation in our Twitter spaces. I think that's a really unique and creative way to, gather more community and really foster and nurture that kind of collaboration. So that should be pretty exciting going forward now that I think of it. Um, so now that we
Hey,
have,
until we have a DJ, I'm gonna be the DJ. So
yeah,
you let me know
yeah,
when it's
Go
time.
for
I
yeah,
it.
got that. I
Tommy,
got those
Tommy,
deep house tunes.
yeah, can you beatbox? Do you know anything about
No, no, I,
beatboxing?
I I definitely can't beatbox, but I can. But I've got a really good sense of amazing music,
Oh,
deep
I love
house
it.
vibes. You know,
Uh,
yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, let me kick the things off here now. So, hi guys, welcome to Energy Spaces stream. So, we're hosting discussions on anything and everything related to NFTs in the crypto space, particularly discussions with the Twitter community at large. So, whether you're a NFT artist or a collector or just a newbie testing the waters, we want to make sure that you're included in this conversation. So, if you'd like to know anything about us and what we do, go ahead and head over to the website. You can find us at energy.world. You can even join our Discord community in the community tab there and join the conversation. I know we frequently have host giveaways and we have robust conversations in that space, so feel free to join. In the meantime, I'd like to kick things off with the NFT news of the week. I think that's a really great place to start, particularly because there's been a lot of viral news in the NFT space. And we've been talking just behind the scenes about Hape Beast. So our panel for today, what do you guys think about Hate Beast? What's the verdict on that? Because they just minted and they just dropped their collection. What's the feedback on that?
Uh, yeah, that was the biggest drop to date that I've seen. That's 480,000 people in our Discord last that I saw. You know, um, just crazy. There's insane demand. I think we're gonna have even bigger drops in the future. Sooner or later, it's gonna be like a million people lining up for NFTs. Is crazy. I never
What
seen
did you,
anything like it in crypto. Things grow
what
this
did you
fast.
what did you guys think about that video though? Because the first time I saw that Hate Beast teaser video, I was like, that's some secret sauce right there because it was just marketing. It was just marketing this amazing video, and it was a play off of Bored Ape Yacht Club in a sense that they're using apes for their collection, and I just thought that it was such a useful, cunning way to get a lot of participation in much more mainstream media. So I saw, for instance, High Snobriety. They're like a very active streetwear blog where they pull in these different hot trends that are trending. And particularly, they pulled in Hate Beast too as well. So Hate Beast blew up from there. And I just wanted to get some more insight from the team. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
We should actually get this panel a little more filled out too. Who do we want to have? Uh,
Yeah,
if anyone from the community wants to come up, you guys can too. We should get a
yeah,
couple more people up here.
because for viral NFTs, like that's everybody that's in this space right now, like they're paying attention to that. So if you're a listener or an NFT collector or even an artist, feel free to jump into this conversation because we're always looking for hot viral topics or even just like small projects that nobody has even heard of before. So yeah, if you guys have anything to contribute, feel free to jump into this conversation because I definitely want to incorporate more audience participation. I think that those kind of robust discussions are perfect for Twitter Spaces. So I definitely wanted to utilize that for sure. Um,
Hey, does
Do
Dom know
people
about
think
this? About this space? Dom should be here.
Do people think that this is, their own unique individual identity and this, really strong, out of the gate media presence? Or do you think that there's a certain portion of this, tagging notoriety into Bored Ape Yacht by doing, a replay on the whole like ape culture? How much of this do you think, is working behind them there?
I think that they have a formula set up for this. That's what I think. Like I think that it's one of those things where they were really hyper focused on it's interesting how this panned out because it seems as if they were hyper focused on some kind of formula that makes NFT collections pop. And Hate Beast, for some reason, I don't know who does the marketing for Hate Beast, but they were very, very tuned in and very, very hyper focused to that. So they were able to utilize what they knew to create a new kind of hybrid of I would say Bored Ape Yacht Club in a sense that it's their own brand and it's much more fashion streetwear centric, and they were able to innovate that and to use it to their advantage. And I just thought that was such a fascinating way that they're using marketing. And if I remember correctly, Hate Beast they've been dropping little tidbits of their collection, like little teasers and such, since October of last year. So they were really building up this hype leading up to this point. And so, I think if I remember correctly, the Hate Beast, the drop of the Hate Beast, like it was minting at point 0.2 ETH, and then it ended up being on OpenSea. What was that amount, Tommy? Was it like 6 ETH afterwards? So it was minting for point 0.2 ETH, but then people were selling it in aftermarket for like 6 to 7 to 8 ETH. Is it crazy potential there? I just thought that the formula that they have, like they have that locked and loaded. Like they seem to really know what they're doing.
Yeah, last I checked, I haven't checked it yet today, but last I checked, they were like around 6 ether. Um, yeah, it's crazy. There's like I said, I've never seen so much demand and fast growth in crypto assets, and I've been in crypto for 10 years. And I would say, opportunities increase with time. When I was buying Ethereum, Bitcoin had already done a massive run up. Bitcoin was up. Uh, at the time, Bitcoin was what, a couple $100. Bitcoin went up a million times in 4 years, between 2009 and 2013. Um, and yeah, and then Ethereum came out. Ethereum was $1, and most people had thought they'd missed the boat. And I was like, no, no, opportunities increase with time. And that's when I was making videos on Ethereum, trying to tell people about it. When it was $1, there was like 8,000 people in the whole Reddit. And now we're moving into a new phase. So I still get friends saying, "Oh, I missed out on crypto and stuff," and it's like, no, you didn't. Actually, there's more opportunities now than ever. And so I think NFTs are the new wave of um, opportunities, and it's going to get crazy. I anticipate the next couple
Hmm.
years, there's going to be just literally hundreds of millions of people pouring in NFTs. So
It's interesting that you're noticing that, and you're also noticing a trend come up with NFTs. It seems like there's hottest trends that because you saw it with Bitcoin and Ethereum, but now that it's moved on to the NFT community, where it's building this kind of hype, where it's pulling in normies that are interested in the space. I'm noticing trends in NFTs, and I noticed it with Hate Beast and with others. Can we think of any others like the hot? What are the hottest trends in NFTs? Oh, and before we do that, by the way, NFT artists, whether you're a collector or an artist or even just a just a beginner in this space, feel free to jump in and dive into this conversation because I always like to hear what people consider to be hot trends in NFTs because it's such a growing, innovative discovery phase that we're in this space. So any feedback, any and all feedback is crucial and necessary because I think it's a fascinating discussion. But yeah, let's pivot into the hottest trends in NFTs. Like, what are we noticing, and what are we excited for in this space?
Women and NFTs, from World of Women to the latest one that just sold out like this week is girls writing things. There's so many different projects right now that are selling out in the women's NFT space. that there's literally Twitter spaces about this every single day. And they're a very tight knit community. And a lot of them are out supporting each other and each other's discords. And it's, really prominently caught, the attention of a lot of people, including Gary Vee. But it's a very, fertile area of NFTs that is very welcoming and encouraging other female identifying persons to get their collections out there. And then how do they support you? These people that have been successful, they're over and over on the spaces, giving their advice and talking to other. There was a girl in there, a young girl who was 9 years old, and she was getting like amazing advice that you would have to pay somebody good money to be able to, receive, about how she can put her collection up there. And these kind of conversations are just gold. So yeah, women in NFTs is really hot right now.
How about from our audience too? Do you guys see anything that's like a hot trend that's in NFTs right now? Because women and NFTs is a really really big one that I'm starting to notice. And the great thing about that too, because I'm on Twitter constantly reading my feed and reading my screen, a lot more women are getting into these spaces. And what's so funny is the dichotomy between male centric community being, and then all of a sudden you have females getting into the space and getting really hyped about it. And I like that in particular because I grew up as a tomboy. Like I did art, I did skateboarding, I did all of this stuff. And then being immersed in this space, it's as if it's like a new world out there that has endless possibilities and endless innovation and discovery. Yeah, if anybody in our audience has any feedback on what makes NFT hot trends, like feel free to raise your hand because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too as well. And then also, guys, by the way, because I know that we have a lot of listeners that don't have speaking capabilities. So if you have a question, anything at all, feel free to join our Discord. We have a moderator in there that is fielding questions to me, and I'll be able to see those comments. So if you don't have speaking capabilities, that's no problem at all. Go ahead and head over to our Discord, join our Discord, and then add any questions there. Moderators will be on hand to field those questions to me, and I'll be able to sprinkle them throughout the stream here. But yeah, trends. Omar, do you guys have any feedback on hottest trends?
Yeah, I'm just looking at what's active today. I know Azuki minted uh, a week ago, and they just went live with their project. Look, again, it's a very good PFP project, good roadmap coming, and we're doing something similar with our upcoming collections as well. So I think we have a lot of good info for the community, in the coming weeks to see and see what energy is really building as well. But yeah, I'm just really following, the current projects. I know yesterday there was another drop with crypto bats with a Z, and they had also a very very unique way of doing this. And Ozzy Osbourne and his wife Sharon, and a bunch of other folks actually got involved. And most celebrities, as they're joining, the NFT space, they just want to do a basic drop without really like giving back to the community, or without really thinking how this is going to benefit the community. For example, Pepsi, Times, all these bigger names came in and they just did a very poorly designed drop, and eventually people showed by their actions, invisible hands, that they were not interested in these drops. However, um, celebrities that actually think about these things, from the community standpoint, and how it can benefit the communities and make it fun and enjoyable, is just another thing that I noticed as well. So yeah, I think it's another project that we should all look at, Azuki, and then there's more coming up in the spaces as well. But there's always 100 projects a day coming in, so you kind of lose track of some things. But yeah, some other things I'm also interested in is we have a possible Bored Ape token in the future coming. We have the Cool Cats, which is like the little treasure drop they're doing. So I'm excited to see what they're gonna end up doing in the next few weeks or so. So yeah, I think it's 10 days they're doing that treasure drop thing. So that will be interesting to see how that pans out at the end. But yeah, those are some of the things I'm looking at alongside, obviously, with Hate Beast, as Tommy mentioned, was a good project. So I'm curious to see what the actual collection will end up looking like. Such as some of the top one of ones that they have in that collection. So yeah, tons of things in the NFT space, and this is moving super fast. Like, you cannot keep track of these things.
That's a good point that you brought up too, Omar, as well. There's the concept of celebrities using NFTs to amplify their voice. However, I'm noticing, and then this is just a little critique, is that they're not really giving anything of value back to their communities. You still have that because I live here in Los Angeles, so I'm very like situated with the whole entertainment aspect of living here. But I've noticed that it's the same gate that all the fans have. There's no access, so it's very clear that who is in here with the best intentions and who isn't. And I'm so glad that the community at large, in regards to NFTs, like they're very, I noticed that the communities, like, they're very, very much lock and step with the artists that they love. So when celebrities get in here and they say, "Oh, well, I'm going to drop, an NFT project and this, and that," and then offer nothing to their communities, that's very telling of the motivations and the incentives of those celebrities. And I think going forward, what we're going to see is a restructuring of who we value in these spaces and who we give those attentions to. And I think what's also so powerful about communities and NFTs is that it does have the potential in this space to really boom and really restructure how we who we give our attention to, basically, and who we give our dollars to, and how content is streamlined in that kind of fashion. I Sorry, go ahead. Who's speaking? Oh, sorry. Yeah, but it's a real restructuring of that, and I think that's a very exciting concept, because movies, Hollywood is now getting into NFTs, and they're trying to re-strategize. Okay, how do we get into NFTs and make them into digital collectibles? Well, artists, just like a simple artist that lives out in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota, can amass a huge following. From just being in a community and just building up the portfolio. So I think in the next couple of years, we're going to really see a restructuring of who we hold high in that regard and who really drops from there. And the people that do drop tend to be celebrities that don't have benefit anything to their communities, and quite frankly, don't give a shit about their communities. Let's be honest. A lot of them are just in it for their own self-motivating greed, basically. And I hate to be the person to bring that up, but it's very noticeable in these spaces where we're really nurturing and trying to gather more community. Um, Anybody have any thoughts on
Actually,
that?
yeah. So it's what I'm hearing, seeing is the musicians in particular. Pretty noteworthy musicians, producers. They're really active in getting people into the space. Normally, other musicians, and are, again, like I said, with the women and NFTs, really accepting at every level of conversation, specifically in these Twitter spaces now that this option's open, to give as much of advice that they can, but starting to like organize events, and really, producing platforms where they can be of assistance to other community members. But I mean, it's very like Cheech and Chong. They just started putting up their homies in Dreamland. And both of them are incredibly passionate about adopting new avenues. In the first place, Cheech has been a huge art collector, especially for specific minority, artists for many years. So it was kind of a natural bridge for him. And he completely talks about that and engages in their Twitter spaces. And Chong is his, totally fun-loving self, and is just like, anything that I can do. I've already achieved fame. I've already achieved, wealth. I'm here to give back. And both of them have, really authentic, reach into their community. And it's grown thousands of members organically just in the last week alone, less than a week that I've even seen this project. But if you listen to any of their Twitter spaces, they're very engaged and they're very purposeful. And you're right, this is really, you can hear it in people's Twitter spaces. You can hear it in their audio, which is one of the reasons why these and Clubhouse, has really come to the forefront for people, because It's not a selling tactic. It's very easy to hear a person's authenticity and their passion about something. And that's what people want to be able to support. And that's really where NFTs probably are going to move towards. People needing to do their own research and vetting them and making sure that that celebrity or that project and that brand or that community, is authentic and that they really do care about that community, like this community that's here for, us and Energy today.
That's so right and so true. And I wanted to add more to that. However, I know that there's NFT artists and there's also NFT collectors in this space. If you're a musician or anything, feel free to jump into this conversation because Bella, you actually brought up a really good point about musicians and NFTs. I don't think that we actually have seen that blow up yet. And I think the reason why is because the most powerful of impact for music is most likely with visual storytelling. And once we get musicians and artists collabing in that kind of new medium where we're all in metaverses or we're all online on Web3, joining into these conversations, the art of storytelling is changing before us, before our very eyes. Hollywood is really, really behind in regards to giving their audiences value. And we can see that in terms of, the movie industry, for instance, with a lot of the movie theaters not really being lock and step with giving communities what they want. Most likely you have to have like at least $60 to go to see a movie and get the popcorn, and you're with your friends and all of this. With NFTs in particular, like the act of storytelling, when you're collaborating with a visually and audibly, when you have that fusion together, it really has the potential to blow up projects and really has the potential to recreate the process of storytelling as we see it. It's a very innovative and very remarkable time to be in this kind of industry where we're just starting to see it build out. And so, yeah, if there's anybody in the audience that's listening, that if you're an NFT artist or what have you, even if you're just beginning, like feel free to jump into these conversations because I would love to hear your process, like how you're doing this. Like, are you getting any kind of feedback when you're on Twitter, when you're doing that hustle, however many hours a day that you're doing this? It's a very, very organic process that's happening. And with that being said, though, I wanted to, because I'm just going to double check just in case anybody wants to speak. Okay, good. I wanted to use that opportunity to segue into this next topic, which is our favorite NFT projects. And I want to hear from the panel. Do you guys have any NFT projects that are your favorite NFT projects? They don't have to be big. They just have to be your favorite. Can you guys offer any kind of hints?
Academic and research based. I think it's a huge industry that's untapped, and there's actually big companies that are headed up by IBM that are starting to get into this and develop a marketplace for that entire industry. So, yeah, there's a lot of movement in a lot of different areas.
I particularly love the 3D animation artists that are just hustling every day to like get their stuff out there. And some of them, it's interesting because prior to NFTs, their kind of storytelling was just condensed into GIFs or GIFs, whatever we're calling it. But it was really just condensed into this one static medium. And all of a sudden, NFTs blew up. And the one that I could think of off the top of my head that I love right off the bat, the artist's name is Tony Babel. And what he does is that he reconstructs these like retro 1930s cartoon like animation. And you guys can actually follow him on Instagram. His name is Tony.Babel, or you can just check out his work. You don't have to follow him. But like if go ahead and check out something like that, where it's something in regards to, if NFTs didn't exist, it would be stuck in just GIF form. But he's figured out a way to really attract an active audience with his retro 1930s creative vintage loops. I thought it was like a very, very interesting, because there's so much potential in this space. And I was just wondering if anybody in the audience is doing anything remotely like that. Let me see here. Can you guys think of any other hot NFTs that you guys are interested in? Let's get here.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry,
I
Omar.
know Invisible Friends is one of them that's coming out, which is not same as Johnny Babel, but it still kind of falls in the category, I would say. And it's also like really good art from their team. Have you guys looked at the Invisible Friends or
I'm pull-
Invisible Walk? Let me look that up for you guys. Let me see if I can find it right now.
Yeah, because I'm on Instagram right now, and it's Instagram friends underscore io, and it's just a walking animation, but it's so wonderful how he's crafting this because the tagline is hiding in the metaverse, and it's such a simplistic animation that he's doing for this collection, and yet it's amassed a following of 54.8 followers just on Instagram alone. I don't know off the top of my head if he's utilizing Discord. However, it's these kind of collections like they're so creative, and it's just I'm assuming this is just one guy doing this because I know Tony Babel when he first started, he was just creating loops, you know.
Yeah, this is I believe just one guy. If you go to his Twitter, he has about 294,000 Twitter followers, and the Discord is also very big. So this collection should be dropping. I think this next month. I gave up on the whitelisting for this one because it's very difficult to do that. You literally have to be extremely active in the Discord for this one. But this is something that I think will definitely come up on a lot of people's timelines as it drops.
The other I'm glad that you brought up Discord in regards to artist Omar, because that's actually a really great insight right there. Because one of my favorite NFT projects was a project that was a collaboration between Beeples, who is literally the godfather of NFTs. He did this collaboration with a independent music collective. They were called Destabilized, and they came out with a collection. It was like a retro. It wasn't retro, but it was like an apocalyptic. Black Mirror meets 1984 meets a dystopian nightmare, but they fused it with music in such a creative and such a brilliant way. And I started following them, I think, back in October, and I thought potentially like I look at it now. I was actually looking at it last night and I was like, gosh, like this really has the potential to blow up, but it didn't. And so, at Energy this week, we've been very hyper focused on NFT collections and really looking at, all the different ways that make something successful in that way. And I noticed with Destabilized, with this particular project, that they did not utilize a Discord. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to pivot into this next topic that I want to discuss, which is the use of Discords and why they're crucial for NFT collections. So as we pivot into this topic, if you're in the audience and you have any insight as to using Discords for your projects, or maybe you're just an audience member that wants to participate in these whitelists and airdrops, I would like to hear your feedback too as well, because I think that's really that's really crucial. But the purpose of Discords, though, why are Discords crucial for NFT collections? Does anybody on the panel have any insight on that, or anybody in the audience?
When it comes to creating any kind of marketing and creating any kind of an event or movement, community is number one. So Discord is just an amazing tool in terms of the fact that you have both a text community. You can use the audio chat functions and people go on them to be able to talk as well as be able to text chat. um, it's just a really powerful tool for being able to communicate. And I've definitely noticed that millennials and Gen Z have really embraced Discord as a platform. um, and that that just continues, and it continues to become a place to build a community. So I definitely see the value of when you're trying to build a community around NFTs, and you're trying to get people to collect things, to be able to create that place where those people can come, spend their time, hang out with other people that are also interested in those NFTs, and build that sense of community and have those kinds of events and drops and be able to participate. So I think that's why Discord has become such a powerful tool in the NFT space.
It's become a real powerhouse. Like I noticed that because this could have happened anywhere, and yet it happened on Discord. But precisely because of those capabilities that you mentioned, Trent. Like this, now that I think of it, it probably wouldn't have been able to happen on a Telegram or on a Reddit or anything like that. It had to be Discord. And I think of Discord as kind of like the anti-social media for people that don't like social media, but they love, to communicate with the community. And it gives it like a sense, it does give it a sense of community because that's what you're nurturing in a space like that. And I just thought it was like such a remarkable observation that a lot of these NFT collections, the main component to what makes or breaks them is the fact whether or not they're using Discord to utilize to shape a community, to build a community from there. It's an interesting observation. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
It's definitely the communication platform of choice for Gen Z in particular. They don't like Slack. They'll use Telegram to some degree, but again, it doesn't have the moderation capabilities. It doesn't have a lot of the other features that Discord has. The thing that Discord, that it was born out of gaming. It was born out of the gaming community. Um, so it already had an extra layer of gamification and being able to post different emojis and be able to act with those emojis and a lot of those interactions. Those were first really became popular and introduced into the Discord platform. And now it's funny because now Slack is actually like copying some of those features. And you're seeing all these other social media platforms literally, taking features from Discord now and copying them. When, you know, originally, Discord, when Discord first launched, people thought it was just another Slack and they thought it was another clone. But then at the same time, they kind of took off into their own direction. And now they've actually kind of been leading the space in terms of innovative features to be able to offer that allow that extra layer of interaction and gamification that's just not available on other social media platforms and other apps and other platforms. So I definitely see why Discord has taken off as kind of the main platform for building communities around NFTs.
It's an interesting observation. But I'm also because I had to pull up as you were talking, Trent. I had to pull up this article from Business Insider where they pretty much outlined that Discord shelved the idea of bringing crypto to its platform after users outcried over the environmental impact of the space. And obviously, discussion is not about the environmental impact. It's much more about the NFT crypto centric use of the platform and how they're shelving the idea because there's a user outcry for whatever reason. However, Discord is being used by these artists and collectors to amplify projects. And I just don't know how that's going to pan out long term for Discord if they don't incorporate that into their platform, this use of crypto in the space. Um, Anybody have any insight into that? Because I that kind of it always boggles my mind when I hear that there's outcries in that kind of ways, particularly in the case of Discord. So just an observation that I found.
So a lot of stuff like that happens like that in the media. First and foremost, a lot of that's propaganda. I don't know how true that is. The other problem is we have this weird thing that happens with social media where the loudest person in the room gets the most attention. And unfortunately, just because one small group might be making noise about this, that doesn't mean the rest of the Discord community believes this to be true. And then obviously as well, we are moving towards proof of stake. Everyone in the crypto community is moving towards more environmentally friendly solutions. There is no one in the crypto community that wants to waste energy. That's not a thing that anyone decided, hey, let's go, burn as many fossil fuels as possible. It was just a consequence of where the technology was 10, plus years ago. But now, we're at a new point in crypto where we have better technology now that doesn't use up as much energy to be able to do verification of transactions. So we are, as crypto is, evolving, we're getting to a place now where the energy requirements are minimal. I mean, I remember back in like 2016, 2017, there were articles saying that, the Bitcoin mining was going to consume more energy than all the countries in the world by 2020. And that never happened. Here we are 2 years later, and that still hasn't happened based on those predictions from 2017. So unfortunately, there is there's some powers that be out there that don't like crypto, because it is about decentralization. It does take power away from the centralized authorities, and so you often see negative articles like this that are planted in the media, and those negative articles are often a false dichotomy, and they're not really necessarily true. Um, so I don't think that the Discord community necessarily believes that all crypto, is unenvironmentally sound, because that's just not a fact. That's not true. That's not accurate. There are plenty of solutions in the crypto space that are environmentally friendly, and in fact, much of the Bitcoin mining operations that are out there right now are all like driving green energy forward. They're using geothermal. They're using hydroelectric. There are so many different green energy projects that are being driven forward because crypto is looking for solutions that are environmentally friendly. We're actually seeing the first people to embrace these technologies right now is the blockchain and the crypto space. So the irony is the people who want to offset energy costs are people who are mining cryptocurrencies, and they're the ones who are looking for green energy solutions. So if anything, the crypto and blockchain communities are going to drive the green energy space forward. So you know, it's a little, it's a little misplaced to, blame the entire crypto community on, global warming and climate change and all that kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, all the innovators in this space are looking for green solutions, and I don't think there's anybody in this space who's looking at this from the perspective of, oh, we want to continue to use fossil fuels. So I think that's going to be a non-point moving forward in the future as more people get educated on, proof of stake and the different consensus mechanisms and where all of these blockchains are going forward. So, I mean, even Ethereum 2 is, a proof of stake protocol and is moving away from their previous consensus mechanism. So we're now, I, in, we're now moving, we've already kind of moved past that whole, crypto is bad for the environment argument. And I think it was never factually accurate to begin with.
Yeah, it was mostly because I was noticing this narrative too. I think that narrative is going to break down at some point relatively soon because, mass adoption is taking form. I mean, hell, back here in the Staples Center, they've renamed it to crypto.com. Like how is, the future is coming whether they like it or not. And these FUD articles just create FUD for whatever reason whatever purpose that they serve. But I wanted to, because I'm getting questions fielded to me through our Discord. If you guys, by the way, that are listening, if you guys have any questions but don't have audio capabilities, go ahead and join us on our Discord. You can go ahead and join the Discord, add your question there, and we have a moderator that's fielding me questions. So I'll pivot to that, to this particular question right now for Tommy. Tommy, we have a question here about our upcoming NFTs. So this question's for Tommy. How do you think beautiful looking NFTs like Energy Dragons and Samurais will do compared to these minimalistic few line ones that are now taking lead in an NFT space? Don't you guys think that this is what people want? Funny looking minimalistic NFTs instead of quality ones?
No, and the great example there is Hate Beast, which just came out. It's the biggest NFT drop to date, and the second biggest one after that is Mechaverse. These are both really high quality um, avatars that I think people, whether they realize it or not, are subconsciously wanting these to be characters you can take in the metaverse, and that's ultimately where this goes. If you guys don't see that, I mean, like if you haven't watched the movie, watch Ready Player One. It's about time to watch that if you haven't, because it's about kind of the metaverse in the future, and it's an amazing movie too. So yeah, but these, imagine a virtual world where there's all kinds of different characters roaming around. We have these dragon humanoid type things, and we're gonna have samurais. These are gonna be badass. You're just gonna run into these guys while you're walking around and be like, whoa, and then you'll see characters that are big and small. If you get on Oculus, the Oculus, VR thing, you can kind of see some of this stuff as it is. But yeah, I mean, that's people want characters that are going to be fully supported with like a wide array of cool looking emotes, and just it's a project to maintain a character. Like these guys that are just going on Fiverr and hiring someone to make a 3D generated piece of or not 3D generated, excuse me, 2D generated illustrative things. I mean, it's a minimal effort, and I've been around the crypto space long enough. I was here for the ICO boom. I don't know I'm sure some of you guys were. But there was people. What happened there is people just smelled the money and just got greedy, and they started throwing out whatever they could just to get the money and run. And you guys have already seen that out of some of these NFT projects, right? There's been a number of them that have already rug pulled the community. Like they got that 1,000 ether that they raised, and it's so sad because their communities actually still have value, but they're so short sighted that that's all they wanted, to just take the money and run. And then there's ones kind of maybe not to that extreme, but kind of within that category where people kind of smelled the money and did it, and now they're kind of like, okay, I mean, they don't know what to do. They're honestly, their heart's not in it. They're not dedicated to it, and those are the projects that are not going to go anywhere. The projects that are going to go somewhere are projects that definitely have to go in the metaverse. I mean, I don't see a future just for profile pictures. Soon as this metaverse stuff really picks up and people are playing, if you don't have your NFT collection be something you can actually play with online, then what are you even doing? Just as a profile picture on Twitter is not going to cut it, and that's the way we're looking at things. Um, any NFT project we're doing, that's why we're picky on what we do. And we want to make sure that we're doing collections that are going to be supported. And that's the direction we're going. We've got some amazing 3D artists. We have, a 5-man recruiting team to find whatever talent we need, which is how we are able to grow so effectively as an organization. I take recruiting really seriously. And then beyond that, we're in the process of adding some animators on board to get our models actually making them alive. So with all that, we'll be ready to go when the time is to plug in and people are really, getting into metaverses more. Right now, there's not even a good, popular Unreal Engine or Unity based metaverse. There's probably some that are like rising, but the main ones, Decentraland and Mana, neither of them have those graphical capabilities. Neither of them are on that graphical level. So that's going to come though, probably this year, and we're going to be ready to go for it. And that's where I think it's going. So I guess the short answer to your question is no. I think I can actually see a very clear trend that the full 3D and high quality art um, avatars and collections are definitely performing better than ones that aren't. There are ones that are performing well that don't have that, but um, that's a trend that I clearly see.
That's actually a really great way to segue into this next topic, which is the topic of blunders in NFT launches. It's something that I've been really hyper focused on are collections, at least this week, collections that have blunders in their NFT launches. And it's something that Bella touched upon when we were talking about celebrities getting into these NFTs at the beginning of this stream. Um, I'm noticing in particular the blenders and NFT launches in particular are the celebrities that don't really understand the concept of NFTs. So when they launch the NFTs, they don't really add anything of value to their communities. So that would be a huge blunder in that respect. And I just think that it's such an observation to see something like that happen and then have the greater community, the greater NFT community at large, really shut that shit down. They're really just like, nope, we're not having it. This is our community. This is community based. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we run the show. And yeah, I mean, does anybody have any other insight into blenders and NFT launches? Because I'm really hyper focused on that this week, especially in the audience too. If you guys know of any off the top of your head, feel free to raise your hand and I'll pull you up on here and we can start chatting. Because I would love to just know like what the heck happens when when an NFT launch completely gets botched. It's definitely a great thing to study when it does happen. And so yeah, I definitely want to get the panel's feedback on that. Yeah, so it's okay. So it's celebrities. So it's celebrities with that don't know how to utilize NFT launches. But then it's also projects that don't understand the concept of marketing. So sometimes I'll see like an NFT project that, for instance, that just has like one artist and one business development guy. So when they have a project that pops, like they're not really prepared for that kind of influx of community being built around it. And so it kind of just gets stopped in its tracks just because they don't have the foundation set For that, does anybody, Omar? Do you have any insight into blenders and NFT launches? Do you notice? Because I know that you in particular, you are really tuned into the NFT space. So I would assume that you also know of blenders and NFT launches. That somebody's doing it here a certain way, or somebody's doing it there a certain way.
I'm not sure. What do you mean by blenders NFT launches? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, so they botch up their NFT launch. So maybe it's hyped up to the point where it's like, oh, we're going to do this launch. And then when the launch happens, either there's something that happens in the whitelist process, or maybe there's something that happens in the
Yeah.
minting process that gets completely shut down. And then it just
Right.
creates a
Right.
lot of
Right.
negative buzz. So,
Okay. Cool. I've seen actually. I don't know if you guys know about not creators. Creators. And so creators are actually combining the Gremlin toads and calling it creature toads. So that project, almost 2 months ago, was supposed to go live. I think right when the devs were sleeping, someone hijacked the Discord, and when they hijacked the Discord, I think a solid number of ETH was sent out to this. Actually, it was a young kid, and within the same night, there were Twitter Spaces ran by Andrew Wang. I think that's his name in the NFT space. And a lot of people joined to really investigate and find out what was happening. So this was really actually a teammate within their own team, I believe, if I recall properly. And eventually they found out who it was, and he did return the ETH back. But again, the core problem was that by not having the proper permissions, by not thinking about who should have access to send what type of messages to the community, and not really thinking about the community from that perspective, and also from gas perspective, right? Because a lot of projects that are just coming along and using Dutch auctions that start at 1 ether, they think that's a one easy peasy way to just do collections, and this way, community doesn't have to pay. If they don't want to pay 4 ether for the drop, then they might pay a lower amount so they can save on gas. I mean, those things, I don't really think they really truly help the community. I know a very handful of projects that did a fixed price drop and also made sure gas was accounted for. So all those things I have seen. I remember this one project, and it had me laughing for days. It was called Turtle DAO. Turtle DAO was so bad that their own developers and project leaders were literally telling the community members, "This is a rug pull. You guys shouldn't buy this." And everyone was having fun and laughing in there, and they were still buying it. And supposedly, the way they launched it, they literally took the approach of rugging the community, and the community still bought it. They still supported the rug. In that case, they were actually just asking to be rugged. So somehow they actually picked up real traction, and then OpenSea heard about their Discord, and they actually just shut them down just because they wanted to shut them down. Which is, to me, they started off by saying this is a rug. People bought in, but they didn't really rug anyone. This was really their marketing strategy at the end, I think, as I think about it. So there's all sorts of things happening in the crypto space. I mean, some projects outright are just bad that don't think about how to launch proper, and some projects are legitimately launching the right way but just don't have the right support in Discord and proper channels, so they lose proper. And this also happened, I believe, in a Solana project as well, within Discord. Someone said the mint page was live, and I think 1,000 Solana or a very large amount was sent out to the scammer, and that one was never recovered, I believe. So yeah, this is yeah, there's a lot of botched launches I've seen, which even the one I think we were involved with, Boonji project, and I know Tommy and I looked at that one as well from a launch perspective. Um, Bungie didn't launch the first day. They couldn't get their website to support all the traffic, and then the very next day they went back at it again, and they still sold out. But as a project, I haven't really seen them do anything, which is kind of sad. But I kind of expected that because it's an artist with a name um, in the market, and they leverage their name to really create a NFT, but after that, I haven't really seen any relevant news that they're actually doing something for the community. So the community has to be really picky with what they choose, who they decide to align themselves with, because at the end of the day, anyone can drop a collection, but it really matters what are they going to do next with the collection. Are they doing other drops? Are they putting them in the metaverse, or do they have other future utility or plans with it? So you want to align yourself with the right teams in this space versus the wrong ones, I would say.
I got a question for our panel and for the audience too as well. If you guys have any insight into this, what are some safety tips for NFT collectors? Because one of the major threads that I always see at least once a week on Twitter is that somebody had their MetaMask wallet hacked and then they got all their NFTs stolen from them. So does anybody have any insight into safety tips for our people that are listening for NFT collectors in particular?
I would say you should have a, depending on the amount of activity you have, you should have a vault address. So, um, if the address you're interacting with out there, don't have all your assets on it because there's just so many ways, again, they try to target you. Um, so yeah, put your valuable NFTs in a vault. Um, try to transfer when the gas is cheap, like at nighttime for US. Um, just be very, very cautious of messages, requests, check everything. Anytime you're signing a message on MetaMask, really try to understand what you're clicking. If it's saying this thing is asking for permission to view your address, that's probably okay. But if it's asking for permission to send and receive from your address, that's something you need to be really careful about. Just don't just assume everything is, um, you know, safe.
Safe.
Unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, it's not outside our ecosystem. I'm really excited for creating this experience in energy because it's going to feel totally different. You know, it's going to
That's
be an
what's
environment where you
needed.
don't have to look after your back, over your back. Yeah, yeah. So it's coming. We're working on it.
I see people because I feel like it's such an automated thing for people to instantly click on some because we're always online. So I feel like there's always such an opportunity. It's that one opportunity that hackers want to get to is like when you click on something and it's like a subconscious thing, like, oh, I'm just going to click on this, whatever, just to get my MetaMask and stuff logged in. But what if you don't have the right website that you're trying to connect your MetaMask to? Like those are things that like just the littlest things, like, that's something to be cognizant of in this space in particular. But I wanted to, because I've heard this question frequently, because I wanted to pivot into this next question, the differences between airdrops and whitelist. Tommy or Omar, can you guys provide us any feedback as to what the differences are between airdrops and whitelist?
Yeah, I'll be happy to fill you guys in if you don't know. Whitelisting is really done through several ways. It's just a fancy name for reservation for the drops. A lot of communities are doing it many different ways. The more innovative ways that I'm seeing now is that very high demand projects like the Invisible Friends, they require you as a user to purchase NFTs from two other projects and then verify that through Discord to make sure that you actually own it, and then they give you a whitelisting spot for the upcoming drop, which in a way could be valuable if you think about it, because if you're spending 2 3 ether just to get whitelisted, and it comes out at a pretty decent price, and then you can return the assets you had bought for the whitelisting. I think it kind of evens out if you think about it. So a lot of people don't think that way. So those are some things that everyone should start thinking about. And then drops in NFTs are either good or bad, right? Because a lot of projects that actually don't really have any traction and they just go to Fiverr and do, copy pastas of NFTs. They just put them in a contract and they start dropping these NFTs to some of the best and the biggest collectors. So when other people that are looking at Nansen and that are tracking these big wallets, when they see these transactions coming into these big wallets, the ones that are not paying close attention, they tend to think that these big wallets are purchasing these bad projects. And again, it becomes a snowball effect, because if I'm tracking a wallet and I have a following of 10,000, and that following, let's say I purchased this project which is not even real, but it was dropped to a let's say Pranksy or Keyboard Monkey, then I would mint it, right? If I didn't look at it closely, then if I minted it, then other people that followed me, they would mint it, and it becomes a pretty bad cycle. Um, and again, I think these are some things that if you're not using Nansen, especially for NFTs, I think you're doing this wrong. So I always encourage everyone to learn Nansen, how it works. There's YouTube videos on how to really operate Nansen. It takes a bit to really um, learn and get better at it. So again, NFTs is a it looks it's also very dangerous too, because if you're not for example, in the ICO days, if you bought the wrong coin, you eventually had some liquidity, so you could sell at 50% loss, or 10, or take 80% loss, or 90 even, right? With NFTs, if the project just comes out and it's just outright bad and has no buyers, you're just holding a bag for life at that point. And I hold some bags, which at this point, I think I have to love these NFTs because they're just mine forever now, right? So
I have that. That's the same scenario. I think that's like for a lot of people in this space. Like you just have bags that you're just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like have this forever because what do I do with this
yes,
now?
yes, exactly. So I think it's very, very careful that people become selective in picking what they want to purchase. And there's several ways to look at these things as well. So I think I started explaining more than you asked for.
No, this is actually, I'm glad that you're segueing into the next topic that I wanted to discuss, and that is how to spot new NFT collections with potential. I know everybody, I know listeners, like everybody has their own way of spotting that. Like if you guys have any insight, like feel free to raise your hand. I want to pull you into this discussion. But for me, like how I spot new NFT collections with potential is potentially through the marketing aspect. Like I want to see a hot video, I want to see audio visual storytelling. I want to be immersed in the experience in a teaser clip that only lasts 5 seconds because that 5 seconds is all I could stand. I don't have any time to do anything else. Give me what you got. Those 5 seconds, make them count. So that's how, and for me, that's a very gut approach to, being, seeing the potential of NFTs, but I always go by the first impression. The first impression is always crucial for me. And I know, Omar, like you're particularly focused on the NFT space. Like, how are you spotting new NFT collections with potential?
I'm pretty big on Twitter. I think if you follow the right people on Twitter and you have your alerts on for different folks, even if you don't get to really catch up on it there immediately, I usually go through my feed a few times a day just to make sure I don't miss anything. And when you do that, you always find a lot of alpha on Twitter. I know a lot of folks use internal private Discord groups to talk about NFTs, but I don't. Again, I also work with Energy, and we're also doing a lot of big things. So I don't really get I don't really get the opportunity and to really join these separate chats and spend hours and on different sorts of Twitter Spaces. So a lot of people, I think, what's happening is people join multiple Twitter Spaces throughout the day, and these Twitter Spaces are very helpful to understand what's coming up next, because they are discussing the upcoming next projects, who's looking at what. But I think what works for me best is I follow the right people on Twitter, and then I look at what they're interested in, and if it makes sense to me, I will look at it. And just by doing that basic approach, I've been able to find really, really good projects.
Speaking of
So
which,
I have a question
yeah, go ahead.
regarding this topic, because one of the things that's come up on my radar this week is NFT minting bots. And I'm actually seeing, there's a couple of different YouTubers that I've, been following for a while, that speak into like DAP University, more of, the coding aspect of it and the development, behind such things. But I've also been noticing, and what raised this to my attention, were a number of people that had their long wait, for a collection to be open. starting to leave comments that they think that this collection, went to the moon because there's bots on it. And so I started looking into, are people, creating softwares to go in and, manipulate the markets on these things. And I actually am finding that there are tutorials teaching people on how to create these bots, which is a huge insertion, because in marketing, people have been doing these things forever, and purchasing likes and purchasing, all of these social media, different key points within Instagram or Twitter or whatever, followers, whatever. And this kind of, while I understand, people building this kind of bot, at the same time, it's going to incredibly change this, landscape. And now it's actively being, taught online. So I was just wondering if anybody has, a lot more information behind this, if you've been watching this trend grow as well.
I would like that information from Tommy or Omar, because I've actually, as soon as you started talking about it, I actually Googled it. And sure enough, there is a bunch of articles about NFT mint botting, automated NFT buying bot, code NFT minting bot. What the heck, man? What-
Yeah, this
yeah.
really changes the scenario, and it's going to start skewing it. But people are using this as an investment. So they're figuring out and taking what their tools are, which is, an entire metaverse full of code, and figuring out how to be able to sway the averages possibly in their favor. But this is going to change the whole landscape for people the more that this possibly gets out there. So I would love to hear some comments on this.
Especially from our audience too. If you guys have any insight on that, if you're like an NFT artist that's trying to drop a collection and you're worried about that, please offer your 2 cents on this, because I literally just like Googled it like 5 seconds ago, and sure enough, there's tons of articles on the internet how to use these bots to manipulate the system. That's kind of shady.
Well, if you look at it from the perspective of the person selling the collection, I'll give an example. There was a one collection called Obits, and their contract got essentially, um, people figured out how to mint directly from the contract before they released it, and so their team was asleep while the whole thing sold out. It was kind of funny, and then the whole thing happened, like their Discord blew up while the team was asleep with like thousands of people, and their whole thing minted out like overnight. And then they woke up in the morning and they're like, yeah, we didn't even open it. And they weren't unhappy about it. They were thrilled. They're like, yeah, sweet, we sold out. So I think from the collectors perspective, I don't think they care that much. I mean, I guess obviously we want a good distribution too, but like most of them aren't crying about, oh, I just raised a ton of money, um, but and in terms of user competition, yeah, it's shady, and there's other shady strategies again, like minting early. I've seen that a couple times, minting through their contract. I mean, back in September, it's not that long ago, in the last surge, it was kind of it was a bit of a shit show, and with NFTs, just stuff like that, and it was people just kind of blindly following influencers into whatever project, and there was a lot of that. So bots are just another way of people trying to game the system, and I think it's up to a collector, or excuse me, it's actually up to the project to create the systems to kind of prevent that, right? If you make a whitelist system, then people can only mint one or two NFTs per address, then a bot won't do anything, right? So uh yeah, that's my thought on it. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Omer.
Yeah, in a way, I think I don't mind bots from an angle. I think people are aware of these things, right? Even if you look at the general OpenSea or other areas, there's bots that are doing bids nonstop. For example, let's say you have a NFT that is at a floor price goes for 1 ether, but then there's someone's bot who's basically sending you a bid and everyone else a bid for point 0.8 ether, right? So if someone wants quick liquidity, they can just sell it to the bot and move on, right? So in a way, they're also helping on that side of things as well, because I think what a lot of people know but don't acknowledge fully is that this is really a trading market. You're not just collecting art, you're actually, most people, no matter what they say, I think 90% of the market is really just here to profit, right? Because their goal is to buy this NFT and sell it and move on to the next one. That's how I've seen the trend, right? Bored apes, right? If no bored ape person is actually going to hold that for their life, right? I mean, you're already seeing them take I'm sure a decent number of people are taking commissions off them, right? What, 400K worth. Now there's some bots that are providing liquidity to these apes. If the floor price is 82, someone might offer them, or someone might offer like 100, 200 of them, price of God knows 75 ether, right? So in a way they profit. You as a seller, you get liquidity off the bat pretty fast. So this is really a trading economy. You have buyers, you have sellers, and bots are just there to provide liquidity, just like exchanges. On exchanges, you have bots all the time. When you're selling your BTC, most of the time it's not me or Joe or Alex providing liquidity. It's bots, and we may not know as regular users, but that's how these things happen in general crypto and NFT markets. So yeah, it may not seem very obvious, but it's definitely there. I don't think it's too harmful. Uh, you know, it, it would only be very harmful if the bot actually hijacks like half of the contract for the NFT drop. But again, that's up to the devs and the founders to stop that, because there's definitely ways to stop that.
Well said. Well said for sure. So I wanted to segue into, with that being said, I wanted to segue into new NFT projects that we're interested in. Uh, so just off the top of your head, you guys, NFT projects that you're interested in. I know for me, right off the bat, they're not a new project, but they've been around and they keep creating just magnificent hand painted pieces of work. The project is called the Surreals. So it's basically a surreal artist who became well known for creating, or not a well known artist, but he's a surreal artist that paints in line to Rene Magritte, who was a surreal artist at the time. I don't know if you guys ever seen the painting "This Is Not a Pipe." It's a pipe with like a French translation. "This is not a pipe." So the surreal artist, the Surreals, he recreates these flower-like heads for these beautiful pieces of work. It's very captivating. If you could find it online, you could just Google the Surreals NFT project, and it pops up. But yeah, a new NFT projects. Who's interested in what? And also, too, for our audience, as somebody is about to speak, feel free to, if you got a new project that you want to promote or anything, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll pull you into this conversation, because at the moment I'm just on Google googling all the different types of projects. So if you have a project, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll open up the discussion for you.
I'll just mention I like one called Crypto Chicks, and yeah, it's the art is it's not 3D art, but the art is really well done, and I think those are profile pictures that are going to be used by celebrities and stuff. So a big part of marketing strategy for NFTs is that's been successful too, is having celebrities wear them as profile pictures. That's the main thing Bored Apes is doing. I think today they got Serena Williams to do it, so now she has a Bored Apes profile picture. But Crypto Chicks is really good ones, high quality. I think again highly relatable for like a lot of like Instagram models and influencers in that regard. Um, and then um, and then a tool I recommend you guys all to get familiar with is called Nansen. It is by membership, but it's worth it if you're in NFTs to any decent extent, because and there's actually other websites that are doing the same thing now too. But the metric you're looking for is the number of unique addresses holding an NFT. As a number of it's very telling if the community is growing or dying. And I think that's a very good indicator of, is the NFT collection doing its job, in terms of community building and stuff like that. And you guys would be surprised at, like Megaverse, for instance, right? Phenomenal drop, but the follow through has been pretty bad. So just because they have a really good start doesn't mean that they have the, skill to do the community building after that, and vice versa. A collection might have not such a great, start, or like just a normal start or mediocre start, nothing too crazy, but then kind of figure things out. And I actually look at Crypto Chicks, and I think they've done a phenomenal job at that. Their head of marketing's kind of figured out how to do it, and you can go look at their number of unique addresses, and it's just taking off. And it's actually the combination of her doing a good job as well as it being an aesthetic collection, and that's the point I want to circle to you guys. And something I want to tell you guys too, like I I've seen some NFTs come out with like this theme of like mutant, there was mutant apes and then like mutant cats, and and then just some of the art too is like the themes become have a version of them that's like kind of decrepit and dead. And I don't personally, again, I'm in it for aesthetics too. Like I don't want to, unless I'm really trying to pick an avatar that's just looking horrific and I'm doing that on purpose, which isn't really my style. If I'm going for like a shock factor, it'd probably be another avenue. But I am going with collections that I actually like and I think are aesthetic, not something that I feel like disgusted after I look at. So anyway, I think the reason for the success of Crypto Chicks is a combination of both the fact that their art is very aesthetic, it's very pleasing to the eye, and then on top of that, it's run well. So you kind of need the two together. If you have only the good art to start with and bad follow through, that's just not going to work. And if you have kind of like mediocre art and like good community, well, you better get your art up to speed, and hopefully again it's something aesthetic. I won't buy any art that I'm like that I feel disgusted by or that isn't aesthetically pleasing to me just out of principle. That I know I'm buying essentially metaverse assets is what it should come to. What kind of assets do I want to own? The same way I wouldn't invest in oil companies. I'm never gonna support that. Again, this ties to the whole
Right.
point of money is energy, right? What are you investing your money in? How are you earning your money? Are you earning your money in a pure way? Okay, are you investing your money in a pure way? Those are critical. I'm not going to put my money. I don't care if it has high returns. I don't care if it's performing well. I'm not going to put my money somewhere that I don't support. And it's not as dramatic of a deal that it's just, maybe not an aesthetic profile picture, but just out of my own principle.
Well, based on those principles, and I'm so glad that you picked up that question, Tommy, because based on those principles, I see the future of NFTs changing throughout the course of many years, and it's as if Coinbase hooked onto something when they announced that they're launching their own NFT space to rival OpenSea. So they understood that there was something about NFTs that were going to make such a immediate impact in the not too distant future because it's literally happening right now. What are our thoughts, or Tommy? What are your thoughts on the future of NFTs? Where do you see us going in this space?
Well, it's a very broad question, but I see the NFT space being, crypto is the hottest realm of investment in the world, and within that, NFTs are the hottest sector there. So I think NFTs are going to just it's going to get crazy like you haven't even seen yet. Maybe even hard to imagine. The level of community building in NFTs is a lot higher than I've ever seen in crypto. Like this level of community building just didn't exist before. At the very beginning, things were on Reddit, and then things are went on Twitter and still are on Twitter. But people used to communicate regularly through Reddit like they do now on Discord, and now it's on Discord. The Discord communities are where a lot of the community building happens. Combined with Twitter. So yeah, just these tools. Oh yeah, of course there was Telegram too, kind of along the way. But I think a lot of you guys realize why Discord is so much more is a better platform for that than Telegram because of you have all the different channels and stuff. Um, so I expect communities to keep blowing up. Like new communities. I think there's going to be bigger drops, obviously, than we've ever even seen so far. Bigger than Hate Beast, and it's hard to imagine. But imagine millions of people joining a Discord for a drop. I mean, um, yeah, and then just kind of this explosion of growth in metaverse. I think we have kind of the tools for it already. Got the Oculus. Just need to get the right kind of quality of metaverse. High quality graphics. Like GTA 5 level graphics.
Hmm.
And have your characters plug into it, you got your crypto assets plug into it, and go have fun. I mean, that's really coming quite soon. So that's what a lot of this stuff is centered around. And then, of course, games as well too. Um, Having a better economy for their items. It's so silly, but on Diablo 2, you still aren't actually allowed to buy and sell your items for dollars. And they found a way to work around that by doing this forum called D2JSP. This is how much of a D2 Diablo guy. I love Diablo when I was growing up. It was like awesome. And I replayed the D2 Resurrected. If you guys like, if you guys are just open to gaming, those are just amazing classic games. Um, but where's I going with this?
Well, to jump
Oh yeah,
in
yeah.
with,
They
yeah,
figured
go ahead.
out they figured out how to do an economy by creating a separate currency. It's not a cryptocurrency, a separate currency, but that currency cannot be bought or sold for dollars. So they've created a currency because people just want to be able to buy those items a lot of times. So you can buy this currency, which this currency can be used for another game, and it can be used to buy D2 items. So they found like a loophole basically to have an economy to buy and sell items for a currency. But it's just so silly that that was what was necessary for Diablo 2, where now, and that's going on right now. But now the world is really going to shift to, hey, it's traded for cryptocurrencies, and governments can't stop it, and just money's kind of opening up. The money is the blood of the world, and it was a lot more controlled. And just what technology has done is made that so it's less controllable, which I'm a fan of. I'm a big believer in humanity and the high level good of humanity, and you know um, don't want to get too political here, but I'm not really a fan of sanctions. I think sanctions are one of the worst forms of warfare. It's really hard on people without the public perception. I don't like that. I think if you got problems with people, you got to find them a way rather than punishing a whole population of 80 million people or hundreds of millions of people. I don't think that's a way to do things. So these are part of the reasons why I'm a proponent of, you know, blockchain technology. Um, yeah.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. The future of NFTs, yeah, that's a pretty broad question. I know for me specifically, I love the potential of audiovisual storytelling being reimagined in this space. And I think the most potent that what we're going to see, at least from my perspective, going off of what you're talking about, Tommy, about yeah, like you're not a big fan of control of people pretty much at the end of the day. And I think like the most captivating storytelling that we're going to see in the next couple years is freedom fighters and artists that are jumping into this space and using the opportunity to bypass the censorship on social media platforms to really bring change to their communities. And sometimes it starts just as small as creating a Discord channel and having a community that rallies behind these principles and concepts of human rights. If you're an artist that's interested in being a freedom fighter, you're making art that's really centric to that. And it's going to be really interesting to see in the next couple years as, in my opinion, a lot of narratives are going to be breaking down in the mainstream media. So you're seeing a lot of people in the crypto space talk about these things, whether it's inflation or the devaluing of the dollar, but you're seeing a lot of narratives break down. And I think what, for me at least, on a personal human level, is that I like to see artists really going in and drawing the line in the sand and saying, no, this is not right. I'm using my art to be a voice in this instance, in this circumstance. And from there, communities are going to be rallying around those artists. Yes, they may be censored on Twitter, inevitably, they may be suspended off their Facebooks or what have you, but on Discords are where the conversations happen. And I think that's where the most monumental impacts will occur in the next coming years. So the future of NFTs, we have yet to see the potential there, but it's certainly there. It's really just a matter of time, but it will inevitably happen. In this case, I wanted to close with a final question. I think this is for Tommy. So, Tommy, we have a question from our Discord. One of the members asked, can you ask if Energy has thoughts about real estate in NFTs? Tommy, do you care to answer?
Yeah, I think real estate NFTs is very, very potent. What's important here is that it's in those worlds that are in demand, and are maintained, and I think, um, yeah, I think I think it's super potent. Actually, on that note too, you see like Decentraland and Mana, their tokens have performed very similar to their real estate. So I think in some places they actually outperformed tokens to the real estate. So that's a way of getting some indirect exposure to those. But again, I'm really looking for um, for those virtual worlds that I know are going to have the high quality graphics and support. So have yet to kind of really fully determine that. I am looking at the Discord channel right now. Looks like he's clarifying that he means in real life and housing. You can have tokens represent assets, so I don't think anything particularly specific. I mean, real estate's a big, you know, sector of assets. It's like 25% of total global wealth, I believe. So certainly you can have those tokenized and represented. I think a lot of things are going to end up on the blockchain. A lot of assets, probably vehicle registrations and those sorts of things, all that stuff as well, just because it's an efficient way of storing information and whatnot. Kind of, um, make the system into a standard. But I don't think that classification of assets alone is what's going to drive a lot of things. I think the fact that you tokenize it and then you can do other things like have fractional ownership of it, or governance contracts even tied to a single house and stuff like that, all on the blockchain. I mean, I think that's going to become kind of expected, in the years ahead. Just our technological aptitude, but I don't think that's not where the major action is happening right now, though. That'll kind of just be like a inevitability, perhaps. I think obviously the major action is happening in NFTs, for digital assets largely. I think that's where the boom is going to be.
It's fascinating. It's going to inevitably happen sooner or later. Um, so I'm going to open it up to the audience. Do you guys have any questions? I know we have a lot of listeners in this space at the moment. Any questions, any feedback, any insight? Go ahead. Feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up momentarily. For our panel, do you guys have any other insights into the NFT space this week? Do we have anything? Omar?
I think, yeah, I think I mentioned some of the things I'm looking at. I don't know anything additional past that. I'm really just curious to see how this Hate Beast project reveal comes out. I think it's going to be good art, and 3D art is on the rise, and I think these guys will likely take the top spot for a while. Let's see. I mean, it is already pretty pricey.
It's crazy how it's only January and it's not even the end of January, and so much has happened thus far. We do have one more question from our Discord here. Hold on just a moment. Let me go log into our Discord here. The question is for Tommy. Let's see here. Let me see. I have a suggestion for Tommy. I have a suggestion for the NFT market space. NFT marketplace, we can have a similar profit sharing like looksrare.org, where the commission is distributed to the token holders. Tommy, I think that question is for you. What do you think about that?
I think we have something better than that even, which is our referral program. As you might know, we're the first ones to create a decentralized referral program for Energy Swap, and we're going to have the same sort of system for Energy NFTs. Now, we may not have this for launch unless we want to delay our launch, because it's going to take some time to integrate. Probably will take another month or two to integrate that. And I really want to get a launch to ASAP. So we're likely not going to launch with that, but it's one of the first things we're working on after launch is introducing that sort of system, and really don't get why other people don't do it, but hey, I don't, I guess I don't mind either. So we're doing that. We're the only ones in this space I know who built a decentralized referral program, and we're definitely going to have that. So I think that's a even better way to get it to grow. Like people are telling their friends and getting, it's going to be the same referral structure. So that's 10% off for whoever uses referral code, and 10% commission on whatever that user buys from the one who referred them. And then of course, if you hold more than 10,000 energy, then those pretty much double. And again, it's yeah, actually it will start with 20% off for the users and 10% off for the person who is referred them. Struggling with words a bit here. That will double again from 10, 5, 3, pretty much double to 20, 10, and 5. So it's the same commission structures we have for Energy Swap, which is super generous, by the way, where it means that we can be giving the majority of the royalties that we're taking back to the users, and I think that's actually the best way. So I don't want to like discuss it too much because I don't want to give like too many of our ideas out there, but this is a pretty small group. Just don't go tell everyone.
Well said. A lot of great information there. So it looks like we don't have any more questions from Discord. It looks like the listeners are just chilling out and tuning in. But we're going to wrap this up now. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. You can find us online at energy.world. Feel free to join our Discord under the community tab of our website. We're going to be hosting these weekly. We're still trying to iron out those details, but at least weekly. So hopefully we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Tommy, Energy team, thank you. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers, guys. Have a good weekend.